have to immerse yourself in spaces that you're not so comfortable with, because this is how you become a more dynamic project manager, which I think is essential for any project manager. Sometimes people catch me saying that, oh, I think I shouldn't have studied computer science, or even I also did my MBA, but I think what I should have done was taken a more, I should have been in the humanities and taken my major in psychology or something, because it's really about working with people and understanding what works and doesn't work, and to implement or to help a company achieve business agility really requires that, where you're navigating in different spaces and dealing with people, with personalities, dealing with technology, and at the same time you got external factors that are also contributing to this, where you got clients who are expecting you to deliver something.
Today, we are joined by powerhouse in digital transformation who has navigated the immune system of giants like Chevron, Kaiser, and Microsoft. She is a PMP and currently a transformation advisor at Bloompath AI. She knows exactly what it takes to shift an organization from just following the process to actually delivering value. Rochelle Tan.
But if you're feeling stuck, or you feel like you're not growing in a current space that you're in, and you know that there's something more for you, you definitely need. I found myself, because I've done that, it made me more resilient as a person. But I'm gonna tell you honestly, as an individual,
Welcome back to PMP with Prachi, the space where you deconstruct the world of project management to help you lead with more impact. Today, we are joined by powerhouse in digital transformation who has navigated the immune system of giants like Chevron, Kaiser, and Microsoft. She is a PMP and currently a transformation advisor at Bloompath AI. She knows exactly what it takes to shift an organization from just following the process to actually delivering value. Please welcome to the show, Rochelle Tan.
yeah, thank you so much, Prachi, and thank you for this opportunity. Appreciate you taking the time to bring me on board, and I'm excited to share any thoughts or knowledge that would be helpful for your audience.
Okay, thank you, Rochelle. So, why don't we start by knowing a bit about you and your background, um, which is not there on LinkedIn?
I know, what is it? I had, so you'll see in LinkedIn that I started with a more technical background. So I have a computer science background and I worked in tech. My first job was very technical. It was an antivirus software company where I was an antivirus software engineer. But soon enough, I realized that uh, that type of work, where I had to individually analyze, look for suspect files, and look for unique signatures, was just not for me. I love working with people and I love technology as well. So I did a shift. So I guess that's what you could call a transformation for myself, where I shifted from being working by myself and doing some analysis, to actually be involved in projects where you have to work with different people, work with various folks, not just internally in your organization but even outside. I had the opportunity of shifting from my very first professional experience into more of a professional services organization, where I managed different endeavors with this was with China Systems, where I was able to work with a lot of the big banks in Asia, and we did transformation. So I'm going to date myself for saying this, but one of the big ones that we did was migrating an existing, uh, you would say, wholesale banking system that was in AS400 to a client server based system. But now, as we all know, client server is sort of like an old model already. So from there, I just kept moving forward and kept upgrading myself. I think that's key being in tech, is to keep upgrading to the point where currently I'm actually operating more in the AI space. So doing a lot of transformation, but leveraging AI to help people and help organizations uh, accelerate the work that they're doing, but but even enhancing the human experience. A lot of people always say that, oh, will AI, replace us, or will it be less are we dehumanizing the experience because of AI? But actually, there are a lot of use cases out there, and some of the use cases we're doing right now with Boompath and our partners and clients that actually enhances the human experience.
Okay, we will be talking about AI soon in our podcast in this episode. So, before that, it's so refreshing to hear the person behind the credentials, who you actually are, from where you started. So, since we are talking about things that aren't always in the official manuals, let's dive in the topic that many of my project management students who's pursuing PMP are struggling with the shift from the fixed project to a continuous product mindset. So, yeah, what's your take on that?
Am not a purist per se. I know with the advent of agile in the early, like late 90s, early 2000s, mainly early 2000s, when the manifesto came out, that people think, oh, agile is the way to go. To be honest, I think there is, depending on the project and the initiative, there is still value in doing the more waterfall based approach or combining it into more of a hybrid. It has its own challenges, I must admit, but at the same time, there is a lot of value and advantage in looking at projects as more of a product based approach rather than projects, especially if you're in the software, even hardware space or tech in general. I cannot say in other industries. I did work in the oil and gas industry. And so in that space, when I was at Chevron, there was clear evidence that some of the projects had to be kept and we kept them in the using the waterfall methodology because that what made sense for those endeavors. But a lot of the things we've done and did in Chevron actually help people transition to see things in a different light. Idea was not to say, oh, what you were doing was wrong. Rather, it's more of, hey, there's a better way of doing things. Take a look and marry it with what has been working and then make it work for your organization. So in my work, yeah, not just with Chevron, but also with other clients that I've worked with, it's really a matter of collaborating, partnering with the stakeholders because they're the ones mostly affected by the change. And then from there, do a joint effort endeavor in identifying what the challenges are and then transitioning, right? Partnering and looking for solutions together so that there's accountability and ownership of this change and people will see it through because the fact that they're involved already says something. That's how you develop ownership, and it's how you help the teams or an organization see it through, right, from beginning uh, to the end. Although I must correct myself when I say end, there is no such thing as an end as well, right? Because as the organization is growing and evolving, you have to keep at looking at ways to make things better and more efficient for the organization. But you get the gist of it.
Yeah, so basically, don't be rigid and follow just one. Check and see what your company or your project specifically needs, more agile or waterfall or even hybrid approach for effectiveness. Um, so I saw one of your videos. You were part of one of the podcast, and you mentioned that anyone leading the transformation needs to be prepared to get bruised up because you are often operating in someone else's backyard. And that's so true. Can you share a story of Bruce in your career and perhaps during your 7 years running your own company that's Articulate or any other companies you have worked on with in the past?
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for bringing that up, Prachi. So, Bruce, I guess when I said that, it was more of a figure of speech, obviously. But I think in any initiative where it involves humans and people, there are a lot of challenges because when we say the word shift or transformation, that all translates to change. As humans, we are risk averse, change averse. We're actually creatures of habit. It's a known fact. So any shifts, it's always a disruption to what we're used to. So in my line of work, it's very common for me to get into a space where people are normally hesitant because they see this, a person like myself or the team as a disruptor to what they're used to or what things or what has been working. But that's where I think where you combine your technical knowledge and creativity in dealing with the situation. So the most important thing to remember is what makes projects, initiatives, portfolio, programs successful is because of the people. So if you keep that in mind, you have this awareness that the only way to make something work is to get people on board. Now, there may be situations where there are some stakeholders who will just even whatever you do, right? They will refuse to change. Unfortunately, you just have to face that reality. But most people there, you can find your champions, or some may not be sure or they're a little bit hesitant. So it's not a lost cause. You can actually bring them with you along the journey. One of the key examples that I've had, I can share is when I was working with this one client, not to name names, it's a pharma dia company. They're a very old and established organization. And so they have their own standards, they have their ways of working and to come, which is very sequential in the work. They're also very highly regulated, which is something that you have to consider depending on who you're working with. And so to come in and say, oh, you gotta try something different, be more agile, be more iterative. It's a very new and foreign concept for them that people just withdraw and say, you don't know what you're talking about. You have not worked in the space that I'm working in. And so I'm not going to listen to you. uh, I would say the approach that I've taken with that is multi-pronged. I work with the stakeholders, actually taking the time to talk to them, understanding what their challenges are, as well as talk to the managers, because you have to have buy-in from management, to be honest. This is something that's very important because you cannot there's no such thing as, oh, I'm the expert, I'm going to make things work. It's like magic, right? You make it happen. There's no such thing. And so you need your champions, you need your supporters to bring this, to move this, plan or initiative from where it is right now to where it needs to be. Now, where that needs to be, where I find very effective is you don't define it yourself, even though they bring in as an expert. You consult, you partner with the people that you're working with, and that's where they realize that, oh, it's actually not this person trying to change something or just dictating. They're actually looking out for me because they want things to be better for me. So it's when they see the value and when they see that, slight change, even a micro adjustment in what they do, and they see the impact of that, the conversation becomes easier from then onwards. And then you gain your champions. They're even the ones saying, okay, what's next? Because this is great. I want to keep doing this because we're moving better, we're progressing better, we're delivering faster, or we're working better together as a team or as an organization. So it's a combination of working with people, trying to don't boil the ocean, looking for those low hanging fruits, because from there, when they see success, then they'll be on board and they'll be more willing to do the bigger shift from there onwards.
Correct. Especially working with people who are uh, working in the rigid environment like federal projects, it's very difficult for us to work with those kind of clients uh, just because of the rules and regulations and laws. So it's very important to know their jargon and their ways of working, and maybe we can navigate the project according to them, which suits them as well as us. It's those bruises that clearly actually build the resilience in you, right? Uh, going like so
You can say
speaking
that.
for your future project. So you learn a few things, you unlearn a few things. So, speaking of managing chaos, often is the biggest chaos comes from the conflicting expectations, like stakeholders who always say they want to be agile, like just you said, but still they demand 12 month of Gantt chart. Right now, how do you deal with these stakeholders? In
Good
your
one.
how, if you can share more details about it, how did you navigate through these projects?
I think it's a little bit challenging to generalize this situation, but it depends on what level of the organization and what level of work you're trying to do. I would say, for the most part, when I'm working on the high level in terms of portfolio management, these are very large projects, large, actually, group of projects and programs, you know, rolled up together. It's a most stakeholders, they don't really expect a detailed Gantt chart when it comes to that. It's usually about making a roadmap just to have an idea or a sense of where things are at. And a lot of tools are already available these days to be able to do that roll up. I think the Gantt charts are usually expected when it comes down to projects, right? Team level activities. I am not opposed to it. As I've said, there are some initiatives and tasks that do need a more detailed approach, especially the ones that are more repetitive. So things like, if you have, I've worked with a data center group before where the task was, when we procure a server, there's specific steps that we have to follow in setting up a new server, making sure it's hooked up properly, making sure all the specs are in place, proper specs. And so those information there, we can use our templatized charts, Gantt charts, and we just modify it a little. And that really helps because you minimize, if not eliminate, any issues or quality problems in the future. Because they were learning from the past and just making this task more robust moving forward. Now, there is a point where, if an endeavor requires is where a sponsor or maybe a stakeholder asks for a Gantt chart, but if it's an initiative that's more explorative or exploratory or something new or more of an R&D space or even new technology that you're exploring in, so I work with the stakeholders to have a conversation, and actually I make them choose, right? And to say, would you rather the team spend time putting together a plan, which will change or shift anyways, because we're just guessing at this point, or would you rather them do the work and you actually see something concrete, whether it's a prototype that we're building or to show results, where sometimes we fail, especially for new endeavors, right? Where it's no known blueprint to be followed, no playbook or guidebook to be used. It's very important that people understand this, that you know there's a higher chance of failure than success, but the failure is not seen as a drawback. Rather, it's an opportunity for learning, so you get better the next time around. And so those are the type of conversation I find myself usually involved in when it comes to, like, do we do the regular status reports versus, just getting things done? Or did you just need to be informed in terms of where are we at quickly without all the details, nitty gritty details, or if there was a potential issue or if an issue has happen. The good news I always tell my clients is, and it requires a little bit of investment, is there are a lot of tools and techniques out there that you can leverage to ease into this, as opposed to like doing everything manual. That's, I think, where project managers find themselves bogged down if they become glorified administrators, right? Admins, where your job is to just keep on asking, soliciting for information. You lose the ability to see the big picture because you're too busy in the day to day work, and then you with that comes the challenge or the problem of not being strategic at all, because as a project manager your job is not necessarily doing the day-to-day work. That's why you got a team to make the project happen and achieve the goals that you've set out to do. Your job as a project manager is more to ensure that that things, there's proper visibility, and at the same time, if there are challenges, you make sure that that's brought to light and not become, like, potential risks don't become issues if you can avoid it. Obviously issues are not, projects are not issue immune, but if you can minimize, if not eliminate that, that makes things a lot better for everybody. Anyways, long winded answer.
Yep. Instead of getting bogged down into specifics of day-to-day mundane things, project managers should view the project strategically, high level, and the team is there for you to um, do the things. And I love the way you trade off with the clients. Like, do you want the roadmap or do you want the Gantt chart? Actually, they don't have any option but to choose the roadmap, because any which ways, things are going to change over time when you proceed with the project. So, but even when the plan is right, a high level plan is already done, the execution is often flatters. Looking at your consulting career, where do most project managers triple up when they first try to implement this business agility?
Yeah, I think for new project managers, it really depends what their background is, what their focus is. But achieving business agility goes beyond just, I have a tool. If we apply this, everything will be more agile. Or I have a new technique. If we follow this methodology, right? Or if we send people to training, they'll learn it and they'll know how to implement it immediately. Business agility goes a little bit deeper than that. It requires a more fundamental change in the organization. It's a mindset shift. It's a cultural shift, actually, that needs to happen before the company or an organization can achieve business agility in whatever uh, sense or definition that they establish of what business agility means for them. So for newer project managers and even for seasoned one, it's always a challenge, because imagine yourself as humans. As I've said, we're creatures of habit. If my daily routine is coming into work, I have, I turn on my laptop and then I check my emails, and then after that I, chat, communicate with people. Say I'm a developer, software developer, I do my coding, I check in my code and so forth. What if one day the organization says, "Oh, we have this new way of working where we think things are going to be faster." So instead of you coming into work, checking your emails and then chatting, doing your coding, what we're going to do is basically the reverse, right? You maybe you don't come into like a face-to-face, type of work. You don't have to be here in person all the time, but we require you to say you check in code, two, three once. You do your two, three PRs every in a day. That's really good, actually. Now we require, because we have this new tool with the use of AI, you should be able to do 10 in a day, right? That is very disruptive. It causes a lot of anxieties for people, right? Just because you've introduced a tool, there's this AI tool, maybe you use Replit or I don't know, Copilot or whatever, right? You say things are going to be better, we're going to be more productive. It actually doesn't work that way. It does help, these tools do help, but there is still a learning curve to be done. I've known and I've talked to a lot of engineering managers, and just to do a little bit of research to see how they're adjusting to this new situation with the advent of AI. They actually invest on their people, where they give their folks, their team members, time to learn. Yeah, it slows things down a little bit in the beginning, but then the acceleration pays off the time that they might have potentially lost from doing the learning. So
Mhm.
same thing with new with new project managers, it's very important that you educate yourself. Not just when I say educate, it's actually not just on a academic perspective. Yes, you can read books. They're very helpful. I try to, get into or find out what are the new things out there. It's just very refreshing to get new ideas and learn what people are doing. But at the same time, you have to immerse yourself in spaces that you're not so comfortable with, because this is how you become a more dynamic project managers, which I think is essential for any project manager. Sometimes people catch me saying that, oh, I think I shouldn't have studied computer science, or even I also did my MBA, but I think what I should have done was taken a more, I should have been in the humanities and taken my major in psychology or something, because it's really about working with people and understanding what works and doesn't work, and to implement or to help a company achieve business agility really requires that, where you're navigating in different spaces and dealing with people, with personalities, dealing with technology. And at the same time, you got external factors that are also contributing to this, where you got clients who are expecting you to deliver something, and they don't need to know what's going on, all this chaos, right? That you have to go through. It needs to be a black box for them. All they care is, I requested for something, you have to deliver the goods to me. So I think short answer there is, for new project managers, you need to expose yourself. I myself have done some volunteer work in the past, especially for domains that I wasn't familiar with, because it's not about. I don't think it's a waste of time where you say, if I volunteer here, then I won't have time to look for a job, or I won't be doing the type of work that I want to do. But I think by doing those volunteer work, you actually get a lot of exposure with less pressure, because the company or the organization is also appreciating your willingness to spend the time. And you never know. You will learn so many things beyond what you've signed up for, to be honest. And so though I always draw from my past experience as well. I've worked in so many different space, so many different domains, and different exposed in different culture as well. And I must say that, and I'm confident to say that it's because of those exposure that it has molded me to become more effective, because I can talk about anything, almost anything in this world, right? Almost any topic. And that really helps when you're working with people all the time.
Yes, absolutely. I agree because even I volunteer my time a lot with PMI chapters, and it has given me intense experience and made a lot of new connections. It's just beyond, just the project management title. It's like more of an experience. Again, yeah, where you have that freedom, where you can play around and still learn from that experience. So, and yeah, as you mentioned, that certification is important, but it's not that important. Uh, it's about transformation journey. And you have held titles ranging from antivirus engineer to transformation advisor. For someone listening who feels stuck in the traditional technology role, what is the one step they should take to become the transformation leader like you?
To be honest, I don't think there's one step. It really is a choice that you have to consciously make. As I've said, and that's why I shared about my experience when I started. Because I was a computer science graduate, it made sense for me to go into tech, right? And at that time where I was living, it was actually considered a prestige to be hired by this particular antivirus software company, because a lot of great graduates, have gone there and they do a lot of great things. But I myself, as I've said, have shifted because I made a conscious decision. I said I'm not I'm not saying I can't do the job, but it's just that I don't feel as fulfilled. I always thought there was something more, and so I gambled a bit by doing that. But I would say it paid off in the long run. Even when I lived in different countries as well. So I migrated to two different countries. Crazy enough, migrating to a new country is challenging, to be honest. But migrating to two, it was even more challenging because it's like you got to start from scratch again. And so I found myself, because I've done that, it made me more resilient as a person. But I'm going to tell you honestly, as an individual, I'm not very particular with titles. And so I think that helped, because when you're starting new or you want to venture into something, right? You want to transition into something. I'm not saying you should just try anything, because obviously that's a waste of time. If it doesn't contribute to your overall goal, or you're not having fun doing it, don't do it, right? It's a waste of time. But if you're feeling stuck, or you feel like you're not growing in a current space that you're in, and you know that there's something more for you, you definitely need to take that leap of faith. And the good news is there's so many information now, free information even in the internet. And people always talk to Chat GPT or any form of AI, right? Just to get a little bit of information. I'm not saying they're 100%, guarantee that they give good advice, but it's a starting point for you to say, if I want to do this is where I'm at right now, this is where I want to be, what should I do? I think this is a great example right now where, you could also take some tips uh, from this podcast and the other podcast that Prachi uh, will be showing, where most folks, especially if you've been in the industry for quite some time, you would have gone through multiple shifts. So in my case, what I did was, and in any shift that I've done, I don't have to, it'll take forever for me to explain to you all the shifts that I've gone through. But I always rely on my network, where I talk to people to get an idea, right? Does it make sense? Like, does it make, like, am I the only one feeling this way, right? Are there other folks out there feeling the same way? If so, what have they done? There's a lot of books and resources out there as well. So because I was in tech, I was in project portfolio management, but I wanted to be in AI. So what I did, this was one of the latest shifts I've done, is I've actually taken courses, I've done my own research, done my own mini projects. I'm even upgrading right now. I'm taking a postgraduate course as well on AI and ML, and I'm enjoying it. And so I thought, oh, I want to be in this space because I like this space, right? I'm enjoying what I do. If at a certain point when I did this transition, if I felt that it wasn't for me, I would have already shifted way before that. And so I'm not saying you have to be fickle minded and change things, but give it a try, give it some time for you to see if it makes sense for you or not. Talk to people who've gone through the same experience. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but people who've shifted their careers over time, you'll see that they can give you some insights of things that they've experienced and the challenges that they faced with. And you have to experience it yourself as well. You just have to take that leap of faith. There's a lot of resources out there, and if you have any questions, I mean, you can always ask Prachi, or feel free. I'm very active in LinkedIn. You can always reach out to me if you have any
Put
questions.
your LinkedIn profile in the description section.
Great. Yeah. So feel free to reach out. I actually was very surprised by how friendly and helpful people are. And not everyone, to be honest, not everyone will give you the time
At
of day,
most,
but
yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
people are
You're,
open to helping
that's
and
right.
sharing their insights. Yes.
Very helpful. Like in LinkedIn, or you go to networking events. PMI has a lot of great events that allows you to meet all these great people out there, professionals. And so you just do that. You never know. The intent here is not to be like use people, right? I don't think that's the intent. It's really partly you have to enjoy yourself, like networking, meeting people, but then the extra bonus that you get is actually the insight.
Yes, absolutely. Can't agree more. Uh, and continuous learning. Like in the age of era of AI, you need to learn some or the other thing continuously. It's not just AI or those tools, but anything. You just keep on learning and grow yourself personally and professionally. It's so important.
I
And you
agree.
mentioned about working in different countries. I know you have worked in Philippines, US, Canada, so many different countries. So have you found that different global cultures need completely different agile recipe or different strategy to work with the teams?
I guess culture does play a role, but I think the country culture or the demographics is not as high of an impact from my experience compared to the corporate culture. So people can behave a little bit differently outside of work, but there's always a distinct way of working, approach, language use, and maybe style in different organizations. So I would say being able to work in Asia, North America, and even with folks, because most of the clients I work with have offices like outside as well, like in South America, in Europe. the I think it's more about the culture of the organization that you have to be aware of and learn what it is. That's always my approach, because as a consultant, I have to work with different clients all the time. I can't choose to say, oh, I only work with people who are from, a specific country or whatever, or specific industry. I mean, at times, even in say I work with like a healthcare company, but it's very rare that I don't interact beyond just like the technology folks. I end up working with legal, with the HR group, and marketing and so forth. And so it's more about learning how they work, what is effective, what's not work, what doesn't work for them, and that's how I navigate around the situation. I've had this experience before where I actually used to work for this company and they brought me back as a consultant. But the one challenge they had that time was they had a very big endeavor, an initiative. It was a program actually of multiple projects that had failed uh, uh, two, three times, I believe. And so it was like going to a different, like a foreign place, because the air was different. There's a lot of blaming at that time. It's very disappointing for everyone to have experienced what they've experienced. So situations like that can be very disruptive to an organization. And so I found myself really taking the time to, get to know the key stakeholders, take different perspectives. It doesn't mean that I was looking for who was right, who was wrong. It's just understanding different perspectives from different folks. That's also another thing I would say. As project managers, it's very difficult, but you have to take a neutral stance most of the time, because you cannot, right? You cannot have a a a decision or taken a stance before you even go into a situation. You got to be neutral. And if you don't feel like you're going to be neutral, you need to look for help from somebody. To be honest, no, you cannot go into conversation, right? If you feel like you can't be neutral in that conversation. So I find myself operating that way. So as I've said, so I guess the short answer there is it's not so much about working in different countries, although it helps because you understand the culture in different places, but it's really about the culture, the organizational culture of that particular client or company that you're operating in, that really helps you as a project manager navigate more effectively.
Yes. Have personally seen this culture, company culture, how it impacts. Like I was working in an airlines which was quite professional back in India, but where my husband used to work, the company culture, although he was in IT, uh, the company culture was not. So it depends on the company's culture rather than uh, country's culture.
That's
Uh,
right.
yeah.
Hmm.
And speaking of the culture and communication, you are literally polyglot. You speak five languages. Does that help you bridge the gap between the technical teams and the C-suite of any of the countries you're working with?
Most of the languages I use are actually not used professionally, but but I think it does help in terms of, as I've said, as project managers, portfolio manager in my case, you work with so many people, and to be able to speak, if you can, if it's a language that they speak as well, it does help. Because I do believe in loss in translation. But I think it's more about the breaking the ice that helps when they learn that, oh, because I look very like, because of my background and ethnicity, people always assume, oh, I'm from China or I'm Korean, right? They never think I'm from the Philippines. But the moment I guess when I speak English, I kind of have a Filipino accent, and then more so when I speak the language, the national language, and I speak a dialect as well, especially that dialect, people would never expect I speak that dialect in the Philippines, and so it just breaks the ice. And as you know, right, in any engagement, whether social, personal, or professional, that first impression, or when you break that ice, it just makes the conversation a lot easier and flows better. And if you have any ideas or plans to put together with the folks that you're working with, I'm not saying things will just happen automatically, but it definitely helps when you build a stronger relationship with the people that you work with.
Now, going back to where you started your career, you started your career as an antivirus software engineer, as I mentioned earlier. Today, you identify cultural viruses or the bottlenecks in massive organizations. So, do you find that a massive corporation has its own biological immune system that tries to fight off new ideas? Yeah, and how do you patch those culture?
I think for shifts, any company, especially more established and bigger companies, it becomes more challenging when you're introducing a change. But you'll be surprised with how you can still navigate in this space. So I think it depends what change we're trying to introduce and what challenges or problems we're trying to solve with the organization, that the magnitude of the work becomes, bigger or smaller depending on. So different factors contribute to it. It could be the size of the organization, partly age of the organization, but I think it's also the culture of the organization. I've worked with, going back, the example I gave earlier, I worked in this oil and gas company. It was a 150-year-old company. If you think about it, they operate, some areas of the organization operate really slow. Nothing wrong with that. They've been very successful over time, but even they have realized that keeping the way things are is not going to help them succeed in the future. And so when this situation happens, which is great when you identify it, there needs to be a shift. Now, that shift needs to be done strategically, and you have to prepare people for it. And so that's what we did for this organization. We did it in different stages and in different ways, different strategies. We had a space that operated like a startup company. And so those people were handpicked, and only those who can navigate in that space were kept to work in that space. For folks who needed time to transition, there was also another strategy for them to, train, recalibrate in order to understand what this new way of working is. And as I've said earlier, there are just a group of people who say, you know what, I've already gone through several changes. I cannot go through another one as major as this, so I'm done. So there will be folks who will say that, and you just have to expect it, that will happen. So in any organization I've worked with, I think, that's not uncommon. The only difference I find, so medium to large organization, I kind of find those multiple strategies are always helpful to account for. It's the startups that are usually a little bit different, right? Because they know their funding is very limited. They have they also understand that they have to focus more because they're still trying to look for product stickiness and their space in the market. So that was just the one exception, I would say, from among the different companies I've worked with in terms of immunity from change, or if there was a something that already existed that it was hard for them to change. So yeah, right now, BloomPath AI is a startup, so we operate really fast. So every 2 weeks, there's like something deliverable, right, to be shown to the client. Very different as opposed to like the large organization, even Microsoft as a tech company, it has become very large. But what they've also learned is that they've realized that they needed to keep the teams in manageable sizes because that helped in keeping the agility with despite operating in a very large organization. So things that are essential as an organization, they kept with their values, mission, and values, but every product, every team has a little bit of autonomy to operate in their own space.
Yeah, and you were talking about Bloom AI, so we would love to know about Bloom AI more and what does it do actually?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the opportunity. So BloomPath AI is a you could call it like it's you leveraging AI to help in the organization's productivity and just easing ineffectiveness of running either projects or initiative or what have you. So we have various use cases right now. We have features that helps with like technology companies. We also have features that help, and really this is an emerging market for us, is healthcare and the GRC space, um, the governance, risk, and compliance space. But in any of these domains, we follow different three pillars, right, to help with the like identification of what it is that we're faced with, and then we provide. So it's a diagnosis to tell you what's going on, what's happening, and then it reveals the actual action, like it provides an action of what it is that you need to do. And the beauty of it is it actually takes it a step further because the AI will not only guide and share with you what are the most important things you should be working on, what are the key things, right, to ensure quality and effectivity, but it also does the actual work. So on some of the things that it's saying you need to do, tasks or steps you need to follow, it can actually do the actual work for you. So this is not just, I mean, a lot of tools right now are available. Like you have Copilot, right? Gemini and Claude. They can tell you, you know, what are the key things, priorities in your email, right? They'll give you a summary to tell you that, or you could have Copilot summarize a meeting and then give you the keynotes or action items. What I'm talking about for BloomPath AI goes beyond that. So, say for a healthcare representative where they have to go and meet clients and help them with their healthcare needs, it actually has the ability to share and capture all this information about the client that they're going to meet. What are the key things that the healthcare representative should be aware of? What what has already happened for this person? What needs to be done? And even something as personal as like knowing this person, like is this person a grandma, did they just have a grandchild, right? Or do they love gardening and so forth, because all of these things factor into how to make this healthcare representative more effective when they're meeting with their clients and really understanding the situation, and not asking them the same question over and over again. It doesn't matter if the representative is different, because they'll see all this background information about that person. The AI keeps track of that for them. I mean, I can share a little bit more, but I think you can always check out BloomPath.ai for that. I'm not going to do a full demo for this.
Yeah, but speaking of AI, the most asked question, like everybody is asking is AI going to take our jobs, or is it going to make it easier? And is it just raising the stakes of us to be more human? What's your take on that?
I think for this question, I'll take the perspective of a project manager. I've done project management for a long time now, and I do use AI in a lot of things that I do. I don't think that AI has replaced me or the things that I can do, but I must admit that it helps me do things faster, more efficiently, I would say. I don't give all my more work to AI as well. When I say that, when I ask AI to help me, I still I still have the last say for it. I still check the work. I still make sure that it aligns with what I'm trying to achieve. Um, I'll give you an example. Like I do a lot of training for different organizations. And so to put something together, as I would say the content itself, it comes from me, but the organization of the content, I can get help with that. Putting them, say, in a deck, that takes time. But it's not something that, if I took the time to do that, I could be doing something better in terms of enhancing the program or maybe building something else on top of what I've just built, right? Making the experience better for my clients. So those are the things that I find AI very helpful. The note taking alone, when I saw it, I was like, this is great. It's not perfect. It doesn't capture all the key ideas that I wanted to capture. But if I had to do that day after day, like with all the meetings that I have to do every day, I would still say I prefer getting an AI tool to help me with that. And I just tweak it a bit as opposed to me if I had to do everything. Right. And then I actually, to be honest, I'm very old school. I have a lot of technology that I use. I mean, right now I'm looking at 3 different screens in my workspace, but I actually like writing, like having a pen on my hand and writing things down. So if I have to write everything from my notebook back, type it up for every single meeting that I have, I mean, just as an example, that would take so much time, right? Which I could be doing something better. But I still take notes because that helps me with the recap and the understanding. But I do rely on the AI for most of the notes and I just fill in the gaps. So that's just, one quick example. I've given you the example about the healthcare reps that I was sharing. A lot of people for that client, actually, they've had people where they go through 1 month of training. So the company invests on them only for them to finish training and say, you know what, this is not for me. This is too much. I can't do this day in, day out. So I'm done. So just imagine, right, the type of investment that the company had to make and not gain back the benefits.
Mhm.
So AI is actually here to help people where, it eases up the burden of things that we don't like to do, which is usually the administrative stuff. And we get to do the things that we were hired to do, right? So in this case, for the healthcare rep, they're focused more on helping the people with their healthcare needs rather than worrying about, did I capture all the information? Do I have everything right? Did I fill out the template properly so that, I can submit it to the insurance company or to the hospital or whatever? So those are just, you know, brief examples where I think AI is there to enhance what we do. It will not completely replace us. But for those people who are not venturing or educating themselves in AI, I'm going to be very honest. You do run the risk of being obsolete.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, it brings us to square one. Like you have to learn continuously. And yes, thank you so much, Rochelle, for being open today and joining us and sharing your insights. Shown us that being a great PMP isn't just about the certification; it's about the empathy and translation. For everyone listening, if you want to learn more about Rochelle's work in value delivery and AI transformation, check out her work at Bloompath AI or connect with her on LinkedIn. I'll put the link in the description section below. As always, keep leading, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next episode of PMP with Prachi. Till then, bye bye.